My name is Sarah Mount.
I'm Madeline.
We work for the Department of Environmental Conservation, and we're going to be talking about eels today. But since we're a small group, feel free to ask questions, and we'll have some back and forth, But we can tell you guys a little bit about eels, and then we can do some things. Like there was a request to touch an eel. We can do that in a little bit after we tell you some things about eels and where they live and why we study them. Sound good? Great. So we have these posters, which we have some extras. If anybody wants to take one home with you, you do. You can get one at the end. To show the different life stages of the American eel. So when we say eel, we're talking about the American eel, which are our friends in these jars here. And the American eel has an amazing life cycle. They start their life way out in the ocean. Oh, look, we have this map here. Here's where we are right now on the Hudson River. And the eel starts their life way out in the Atlantic Ocean, in an area called the Sargasso Sea. And then they migrate along the Gulf Stream, along the East Coast, to come into rivers and streams just like the Hudson River and the Fallkill Creek right here. So it's getting foggy, it is. Normally, if you'd come in the springtime, you would see a net in the stream right over there and some people sampling for eels every day. But we actually took the net out on Friday because of all the rain we had this weekend. If you see, the stream is running so fast right now, we didn't want the gear to get blown away. So we'll put the net back in after the stream calms down a little bit, and we have teams of volunteers and students that are out there every day catching and counting the eels that we have in that jar. So, do you want to do when they hatch?
Yeah.
Life cycle?
So
Take it back and forth.
when eels hatch out in the Bermuda Triangle, Sargasso Sea area, they actually hatch out into a creature that doesn't look much like an eel. It's called a leptocephali. It kind of looks more like a see-through willow leaf almost. And that's it right there. Isn't it kind of cool? There you go. You can see the mark. Not really eel looking, but it is the first stage of
Mommy
the
has that
American eel.
poster.
And from there, they actually follow the Gulf Stream. They don't really swim too much. They don't really have great fins. They just kind of float along. And they float up the Gulf Stream, and they'll distribute into different creeks, like within the Hudson River, or the East Coast, like the Hudson River. So you can find them from Florida to Maine, out in Texas.
Texas.
I know, right?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, all over the coast.
So they go south of Florida and go on that side too?
Yes, so this map doesn't show their whole range. They can actually be found as far south as Venezuela and as far north as Greenland. So this is not covering their whole range, but they're in the Caribbean, they're in the Gulf of Mexico, they're up in Canada, Nova Scotia. They're gonna follow this whole map and more where eels can be found. But they can also be found right here in our creeks in the Hudson Valley. And when they first come into the streams here, they're called glass eels. And this is what they look like, but even better, can you take that jar and pass it around so everybody can see what a glass eel looks like?
Yeah. My name is
Is there a way south and then maybe set up to Greenland?
Yes.
So they don't depend on temperature.
They can be found in a lot of different temperatures. Yes, and then like the eels that are in the Hudson, they'll stay here year round. So they'll be there in the cold winters and they'll be there in the warm summers, and they're tolerant to a lot of different temperatures and different salinity because they start their life in the ocean and then come all the way into fresh water. So they live in different amounts of salt, different temperatures, different habitat types. They're really flexible, adaptable to different environments. Yeah, in a certain way. So the glass eels that are in that jar there are called glass eels, and that's what they look like when they first come in from the ocean. So out in the ocean, the eels are always see-through, and that's to help provide camouflage in the deep open water. And then pretty soon after they come into freshwater environments, like the Hudson here, they start to gain pigment and get to be that life stage right there, called an elver, which is a little bit darker, a little bit bigger, and that's to blend into their new rocky, muddy river environment. And then the eels will stay here, like I said, they'll stay here year round for many years, could be decades even. And so we have these stuffed eels to show how big this species can get to be. So we have these small ones in the jars, but they do get to be quite large. One of these is the biggest that a male eel can get to be. And one of these is the biggest that a female eel can get to be. You want to take it? Yes. Which do you think is which? What do we think? A baby and a mom? Well, one is a male and one is a female.
Female's bigger.
I think that's the female and that's the male.
Why?
Because the female is longer than the male.
They all, so yes, this is a bigger one. But why would a female get to be bigger or longer than a male?
Carry all the eggs. I'm sorry.
This is my mom, everybody.
I didn't know the
I'm like,
answer.
stop spoiling the answers, Mom. But yes,
I'm just so interested.
as I have my mom and my kids and my husband here. we got the whole crew. But yeah, so a female eel gets to be much larger than a male eel because they need to hold millions of eggs because they'll only reproduce once in their life. She can hold it, it's okay. And the males don't get to be as big. So the females live 20 or 30 years and the males more like 5, 10, 15. But they both stay in the river for however long before they get ready to go back out to the ocean. You know, to make this reverse journey, go out to the ocean and they only spawn once and then die. Yeah.
Is that the color that they get to be?
Well, this one kind of, yeah. So this is meant to show a silver eel is what they're called when they're becoming sexually mature. There's all these different names for the different life stages, but it's all the same eel. They just look really different at different points in their life, so they get different names. But a silver eel is one that's going out to the ocean to spawn, and they get dark on their back and light on their belly. Why would an eel want to get dark on their back and light on their belly to go out to the ocean?
You know?
To camouflage, yeah, but how? How does that camouflage? You have an idea? Yeah.
To the bottom of the water.
To the bottom of the water, yeah. So eels mostly live on the bottom.
Oh.
They're
So
swimming down.
This one could camo into green coral.
Yes, because you've got a green moray eel there,
Wow,
which would
you got an
camouflage
expert.
into the green coral.
He's going to take your job.
It's a different.
Not green moray.
It is a different type of eel. So for an American eel that's swimming down at the bottom, when their backs are dark and there's a predator looking from above down on the eel, they're going to see a dark back. And if you were looking down in the water, what would you see? Maybe an eel if it was there. If there's no eel, you're going to see like the dark bottom of the water, right? Now what about the bottom? Why would an eel or any other animal in the water, why would they want to be light on their belly? What if they're swimming up here?
I think your mother needs to answer.
Thank you. What if you're underwater and you look up, what are you going to see?
Sky.
The sky. And what's in the sky?
Light.
The clouds and the sun, right? So you're going to see the bright sun. Now, if an eel is swimming up high in the water and there's something underneath it that might be interested in trying to eat it, they're going to see a light belly that blends in with that light sky. So lots of animals have this kind of camouflage where they're dark on their back and light on their belly to help them with predators from above and below. Right? Like sharks. What else? What else has that same kind of color? What else? Lots of fish have it. Yeah.
Orca.
Fish. Whales. Yeah. Turtles, like all kinds of things, so that they blend in with either the bottom or the top. Dolphins do too. Yeah. Yes. Yes. We could do this forever. We just come up with, but it's a good adaptation. There's a good reason. It helps protect them really well. And then they go out to the ocean and they spawn and they die. So they only reproduce a single time in their life. Make that round trip journey a single time in their life.
So they'll go back down, spawn, and that's it.
And that's it.
Do they die?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if you've ever eaten eel, had unagi at a sushi restaurant, or had smoked eel, or anything else, it is this type of eel. It may not be the American eel because there's different. There's also European eel, Japanese eel, other ones globally, but it was very likely an American eel that was caught in the wild too as a glass eel. So caught as one of these young eels and then raised up to market size, and then.
So is that, do they mostly have eel farming or do they mostly catch?
So it's eel farming in a sense. They catch the wild young and then grow them in an aquaculture tank. But they're not, you can't breed multiple generations of eels in the same way you can some other fish for an aquaculture facility. So it's like they're going into a facility but after being caught in the wild.
So where is it, like, do we have any of those places near us here?
No, they're mostly in Asia, mostly in China. There is one in Maine. Farming in a sense, they catch the wild young and then grow them in an aquaculture tank. But they're not, you can't breed multiple generations of eels in the same way you can some other fish for an aquaculture facility. So it's like they're going into a facility but after being caught in the wild.
So where is it, like, do we have any of those places near us here?
No, they're mostly in Asia, mostly in China. There is one in Maine. Farming in a sense, they catch the wild young and then grow them in an aquaculture tank. But they're not, you can't breed multiple generations of eels in the same way you can some other fish for an aquaculture facility. So it's like they're going into a facility but after being caught in the wild.
So where is it, like, do we have any of those places near us here?
No, they're mostly in Asia, mostly in China. There is one in Maine. Farming in a sense, they catch the wild young and then grow them in an aquaculture tank. But they're not, you can't breed multiple generations of eels in the same way you can some other fish for an aquaculture facility. So it's like they're going into a facility but after being caught in the wild.
So where is it, like, do we have any of those places near us here?
No, they're mostly in Asia, mostly in China. There is one in Maine. Farming in a sense, they catch the wild young and then grow them in an aquaculture tank. But they're not, you can't breed multiple generations of eels in the same way you can some other fish for an aquaculture facility. So it's like they're going into a facility but after being caught in the wild.
So where is it, like, do we have any of those places near us here?
No, they're mostly in Asia, mostly in China. There is one in Maine. Farming in a sense, they catch the wild young and then grow them in an aquaculture tank. But they're not, you can't breed multiple same way you can some other fish. Like going into
I know that.
Do you want to touch an eel? Do you want a color? This shows you all the different life stages of the eel. This is the out of the ocean. All the way to like that.
Big one out in a second. Let's
Yeah, see, that one I don't think I'd want to touch. I can touch the baby.
You guys want to have a color shade? All life cycles. Yeah, what do you
What?